Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to my beloved lecturer. Okay, my name is Saifuddin Bersyaidan. Okay, today I representing Group H will present to you our project. Alright, after a few discussion with my teammate, we decided to choose question 8 for our project, which is what measure can an engineer take to prevent corruption and unethical practice of cutting corners in order to safeguard the good image of the engineering profession. Okay, the next one is the introduction for our project. Okay, the purpose of this project is to identify the causes of the corruption in constructions, the impact of corruption, health and safety issue related to corruption, and strategies to curb this problem among engineers. Okay, for this project, we have selected two case studies. The case study is closely related to the corruption in construction or large-scale project among engineers in Malaysia. Okay, in order to do a comprehensive study on this project, a survey was conducted to assess the public awareness of corruption, and analysis of the survey was done in order to make conclusion for this project. Alright, the next one is the project background. Okay, the construction sector plays a decisive role in any country's development. Okay, building industry include home and road construction, renovation, reconstruction of buildings, and many more. Okay, building industry ventures involve large amount of money, large number of individuals, multiple complex procedures, and specific work phases. Okay, as we know, construction has been described as a high-risk industry. Okay, one of the risks faced by someone working in the construction sector is the corruption. Okay, next is definition of corruption. So, what is corruption? Corruption is receive, request for, or offer some reward in order to persuade a person to do a favor with a corrupt motive. Okay, as we know, the most and the simplest definition of corruption is the abuse of a public power for private benefit. Alright, next. There are several types of corruption that exist in our country. First is bribery. Second is extortion. Third, embezzlement. Fourth, cronyism. Fifth, nepotism. And the last one is influence peddling. Alright, next. Why corruption happens? Okay, corruption typically happens when certain people are willing to use illegal means to increase their personal income. Nevertheless, for such person to engage in illegal behavior, there must some condition that do not prohibit or deter them from doing so. Okay, corruption also doesn't happen in private sector only. It also happen in large scale involving politics in a country. Okay, what will cause when someone involved in the political corruption? Okay, it will cause the country to collapse and fail because of weak government administration. Alright, next, I will explain about corruption in construction industry in Malaysia nowadays. Alright, as we know, corruption is a harmful and unexpected virus which has infiltrated construction industry in Malaysia for decades and can be characterized as corruption coercion, that cheat abuse of power granted for personal benefit without considering any other right or privilege. Alright, it also may reduce the quality and equity of infrastructure service that have led to excessive, insufficient, and faulty in construction project. Okay, the corruption also can occur among engineers and workers, or vice versa? Okay, there are several of factors that make this happen in the business model of construction, such as great living wages, lack of transparency, maintained powers, lack of ethical standard, and many more. Alright, one of the state director of MACC, Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, he said that Malaysia construction industry corruption is on a severe level. Okay, that statement show that to maintain the good reputation of the engineering profession, an engineer should be wise in dealing with the matter rather than stuck. Okay, now is life of an engineer, or in other words, we can say as challenge that an engineer must face. Okay, current and growing engineering challenge such as climate change, sustainability, energy, security, increasing internationalization, and global integrations need engineers who are well trained to come up with innovative and creative solutions to solve all of these problems in all aspects. Okay, engineer one of the country's principal pillar for development. Okay, so to make engineers leader in the growth of a country, they must be trained with various industrial skills such as communications, management, law, and politics. Engineer must learn how to handle and solve various type of problem through education and practice. So therefore, our project we've come up with how engineers takes to prevent corruption and unethical practice in order to safeguard the good image of engineering profession. Alright, next I will explain the objective of our project. Okay, the first one is to determine the causes of corruption in construction. Second, to come up with the right solution for the problem. Third, to analyze the suggestion made by the public on this issue from the survey that have been made. Fourth, to expose students to the challenge they face as they work as engineers. And last one, to prevent engineers from getting involved in this corruption in construction.
Hi, so I'm going to be talking about the Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin Stadium roof collapse. Sultan Mizan Zainal Stadium is a multi-purpose stadium located in Kuala Terengganu, Malaysia. It is one of the projects designed by a South Korean construction firm. It is the largest stadium in the East Coast region of peninsular Malaysia. It forms Terengganu Sports Complex's most attractive hub, particularly football matches with adjacent mini stadium. Its first event was held for Sukma in 2008. The stadium has cost around 300 million ringgits, which actually became a global headline when the roof collapse incident had occurred only a year after opening it to the public. It was actually opened on the 10th of May of 2008. The stadium was designed to hold more than 50,000 people, which means that it could have possibly damaged many people. The roof has been collapsed on the seats of the stadium, which caused half of the stadium to be demolished or destroyed. Destruction recorded was estimated to be around 25 million ringgits. This incident had affected main entrance, royal platforms, and public seating areas. The stadium was declared unsafe afterwards. The primary cause of the failure, based on the research undertaken by the Technical Investigation Committee, was mainly the materials used and the nature of the work not meeting expectations. The, the design was inadequate and the roof was not properly built. There are, however, other factors that caused the fault that resulted in the collapse. Firstly, speaking regarding the quality control at the project site not carried out, and the poor monitoring during the construction process as well as the shortage of skilled staff. Secondly, the buckling. Buckling in the incline members occurred due to the long distance between the final concrete stump and the concrete buttress, which was approximately 30 meters wide. Defective welding in steel components that indicate poor workmanship and strength of the materials used did not fulfill the design specifications when examined in the preliminary tests, thereby reducing the structure's mechanical strength. The roof was also incorrectly structured, causing awful geometry and ultimately disastrous distribution of force along the foundation. Non-technical factor involves lack of project management, team quality control, and safety procedures that allow errors to go unnoticed at their early stages.
Hi, Assalamualaikum sir. I am Muhammad Afiq bin Zamzuri. Today I'll be talking on the implication of tragedy. Here we have two, positive impact and negative impact. Positive impact. Firstly, partners helped simplify things to improve the stadium and provide support in every way. One of the support was from the cleaning work. This was because they had to clean the mess and the damaged parts from the stadium which was made from the disaster. Next, tourists have come to the site of the ruins of the stadium to witness the disaster that has occurred, benefiting the state of Terengganu in terms of tourism business. Since the stadium's collapse was amongst the strange occurrence that has happened, this leads to the curiosity for those who haven't seen it, hence making it as the attraction place for the tourists to come and visit the ruins through their own eyes. At the same time, traders as well as Terengganu people would be benefited from the tourist profit promotion. This comes from the various vendors that are doing their market operations near the stadium downfall. On the other hand, we have the negative impact. People in fear of going to the stadium due to the fact that they themselves are very concerned about their health. This shows that people are scared to go to the stadium because the disaster could happen again, and that will be a very unfortunate occurrence for them. Next, matches afterwards that has been played in the stadium would often be lacking in football fans and audience. This is because they were concerned about their own safety when they were in the stadium. Therefore, the presence of the audience had been diminished. The stadium, which is also an attraction for travelers, would drive the number of tourists coming to Terengganu to fall. Therefore, the location's tourism economic structure could be barely survive. The negative impact here leads to parties blaming each other, refusing to take responsibility, which can lead to tension among many parties.
Moving on to the sustainability. Poor maintenance might lead to structural failure and wasteful spending. Concrete faults, if not fixed, can inevitably lead to significant maintenance. Careful and structured maintenance monitoring is needed to minimize the potential risk of a catastrophe that could cause life loss due to structural inability. Risk value analysis is the tool for helping to assess and evaluate a project to proceed, which concludes that the only acceptable way is by the distribution of the advantage between the engineer and the community to incorporate risk-benefit. The risk can be reduced if the designer spends more time rechecking the design process before it is delivered. Much more other products and safety precautions can be taken in order to avoid such a disaster. Now, public interest and societal impact. An inquiry into the roof collapse of the Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin Stadium was carried out following the incident. The report was published in December 2009, but was not released to the public because it would cost a fortune to obtain a copy from the government. So, as long as the final copy is not released to the public, the credibility of the people who oversee the project is strongly challenged. The report should have been made available to the public. to allow the engineering and building environment to avoid the mistakes made.
Next, we move on to the health and safety issues. This problem is concerned as a matter of public safety, as the potential engineers in the construction sector should be taken seriously. Truthfully, this incident was avoidable as there was no issue such as wind, heavy rain, or perhaps even wave forces that could trigger the incident. In reality, this event was entirely a failed construction layout. Most construction accidents may be avoided if all engineers and workers adhere to the ethical codes and consider public safety, rather than worrying as to whether or not the construction brings the profit, money. Project suggestions should be taken at face value and any signs of vulnerabilities must be taken into action. In addition, products used in building must also be addressed as quality control must be practiced to ensure consistency.
The second case study is MACC NAPS engineer and wife of a bribery case. A Petronas Chemical Group engineer and his wife have been arrested by Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission's MACC because he demands bribe from contractor to perform test work on pipes at Sipitang of Sabah Ammonia Urea, which is called SAMUR. The engineer, who is the project quality assurance and quality control manager, reported asked for and received bribes as payment for hiring the subcontractor for the project to conduct the testing work. He asked for the payment of the bribe is made some to his personal bank account and some to his wife's company account as an inducement to hire the company. The conflicts and impact. As we all know, corruption poses a major threat to countries around the world. It can lead to poor institutions and injustice, insecurity, less prosperity, and also much more, which is less respect for rights, denial of basic services, less employment, and also environmental disaster. By the case study, the engineer and his wife will encounter the effects of corruption after being arrested. In terms of sustainability, a sustainability consideration will improve not only life but for next generations. In this case, the engineer does not consider any sustainability when conducting the project, and it will lead to some problem in the future. For example, there might be a problem of pipe leaking in not more than 10 years. It means the pipeline does not have a sustainability consideration. Public interest and social impact. The engineer will encounter some impact of doing corruption, such as public or their client will lose interest in making relation or working with them, and also public or client will be more careful in awarding tender of a project to them. Regarding the health and safety issues, corruption activities in health sector can have repercussions in three areas, which is health and the healthcare system, entrepreneurial activity, macroeconomy. The case triggers many factors of health and safety issues, such as the subcontractor will be exposed to the ammonia solution, and also precaution steps need to be fully taken regarding to the guidelines.
My greetings to Mr. Firos. So I'm Dev Anand. I'm taking EIS SM. I'm part of a member group H in I would like to proceed further on regarding survey analysis in this presentation. So, the first question that we carried out for this project was, have you heard about corruption in large-scale engineering projects? So, as for this question, 63% of respondents answered yes. So, it means they are telling that they have heard about corruption in large-scale engineering projects. And 26% of respondents answered maybe. So, they are not really sure about these cases. And 10% of respondents answered no. They have never heard about large scale of corruption in engineering projects. So our second question for this survey was, what type of corruption that you always heard in large scale projects? So as for this question, we gave four choices. Four choices: bribery, extortion, embezzlement, and no. As my friend mentioned before, there are many types of corruptions. So we just choose for male and then we gave them choice. And most of the respondents answered bribery, 60% of respondents, and 20% of respondents answered extortion. 16.7% of respondents answered embezzlement, and few of the rest respondents answered no for this question, which means they might be not heard about this before. The third question for the survey was, what do you think the major factor that causes corruption in the project? So for this question, we let the respondents to give short answers. Let them answer by themselves. We never gave any option. So 70%, the majority of the respondents answered greediness. Due to greediness, they are taking the corruptions are happening in these projects. And 33.3 percentage of respondents answered integrity as the reason. 36.7% of respondents answered to maintain their power. Maybe they are in some position, only they are the one able to take the decision. So if they get their bribes or anything to happen, they can show their power in this project. So that as their answer. And few percentage of respondents answered that living costs. Maybe their living cost is high, so that to maintain their living cost, they taking the corruptions are happening. And the fourth question for this survey was, what do you need to do if you faced or encountered with someone's offering bribes to you? So this question is for the respondents actually. How do they react towards corruption? So majority of the respondents answer that they will report, which is good. And 13.3 percentage of respondents answered they will accept bribes. It was a bit shocking to us actually. And 23.3 percentage of respondents answered that they will reject the bribe. Few percentage of respondents answered what understand the circumstance, in which means depend on the situation. If possible, they will go and report. If not, they will keep themselves quiet because they don't want to put themselves into trouble by reporting. So our fifth question for this survey was, what action government and companies should take in order to prevent corruption in engineering projects? So for this question, we let the respondents to answer in long answers. So there were many answers, like estimate the auditing of the companies, ban those who interrupt in corruption, those who involved in corruption, educate them, educate those engineers or those who involved in the projects, fire those who working in the corruption field in engineering projects. Some answered, I have no ideas. Some wanted them to put in jail, but majority of the respondents' answer was give them a worth penalty, which is acceptable. So the last question for this survey was, do you think corruption in large-scale project affect the safety and health? So this is a simple question. So majority 83.3% of respondents answer yes. Safety and health issues are involved by corruption. Due to corruption, there will be effects in safety and health was the respondents' answer. And 16.7 the minority said maybe, but none of the respondents answer no, safety and health will not affect by corruption. None of the respondents' answer was correct. Only just few of them answered maybe. So which means might be still uh, giving trouble to the safety and health due to corruption. Okay, sustainability. What is meant by sustainability? A development that meets current generation needs and without compromise the future generations need, which means the resources which we use should have to be minimized and sustained for future generation. So we can divide sustainability into three parts, which is environmental, social and economic. So under environment there are a few criteria like pollution, ecosystem, natural resources, all those are under uh, environment. And when it comes to social, education, equal opportunity, and for economic, profit, cost saving, economical growth, research and development, all those criteria are under economic for sustainability. So now in my slides, why am I only indicating the education for social under sustainability? And what is the connection between all those survey questions and the sustainability? Yeah, yes, there is a connection because the survey which we carried out was all done by students. So basically, all of our respondents are students, especially engineering students, and we are from UNITEN too. So, well, education plays an important role as an criteria under social, as I mentioned before, because social is one of the part in sustainability. Under sustainability, under social, there are a few criteria such as education too. So when it comes to education, it is very important that the students to be educated regarding the corruption so that they can be aware of this corruption in future engineering projects that they are going to make, because they are the future engineers in our society. When it comes to society, society is something related to social. So they are going to be one of the effective member in future who are going to play those important roles in those large engineering projects. So in future, with proper education, the engineers will be able to manage the changes in environment when during they handle their projects, large scale projects. Engineers should plan well with correct function in projects which can sustain for longer period. It's one of the important role for every engineers, and they should also improve the quality of human life and reduce the environmental expenses for longer term. So let's say when it comes to a construction field, so when they build something, they should build which can last long for a proper time, not to say very huge time. If it can last long for a very huge time, it's very good, but somehow we need to do the maintenance for a certain period. So when the construction lasts long, the equipments, the resources which we use for that project will last long, and the rest will be sustained for future generation. But when it comes to corruption, what will happen? Usually they won't use proper amount of cement, or the concrete quality is not well maintained. So let's say for the building should last long for 10 years without any problem, the maintenance period. it won't last long for 10 years. It might face any uh, collapse or anything in midway or 9 years or earlier than that, which leads to again rebuild of the construction, where we are not sustaining the resources. So that is where corruption is legally has to be banned with a proper implementation. So with a proper education in future, engineers might be able to handle it very well. Health and safety, yes. When it comes to health and safety, the health and safety is also badly affected by corruption. It's because even a safety officer can takes his bribes and let the employees enter the field or site without the proper safety equipment, which will lead to accident, major accidents. So that is where the health and safeties are affected. Even corrupted constructions which has been completed will be used by publics, which may lead to a collapse of the construction. And that is where health and safety is also affected. So basically the corruption is a problem towards health and safety. So every individual who works under those engineering projects should have to be educated, even in safety wise, health and safety wise, or even sustaining the natural resources. So they have to be educated in order for them to maintain it. They have to be educated economically or either legally or either morally in order for them to ensure the safety, health and safety of the employees or even the person who are going to use in future for the customers or the publics. And they should know how bad the corruption is. They should take the proper action. They should work accordingly so that in future we can overcome corruption. Thank you.
In conclusion, based on the analysis from the surveys, most respondents are aware that corruption is occurring everywhere in Malaysia and around the world. Corruption plays a significant role in the engineering industry. The authorities are taking advantages upon this to please themselves by gaining private welfare, but instead of making benefits towards the public, which is damaging the society even more. Survey also states that bribery is known to be the most used in corruption. This also affects the health and safety aspects, where constructions are not being properly built due to money being exploited and used unreasonably. Therefore, the buildings and constructions may fall and affect people's lives due to the wrong materials being used and spent when constructing these buildings. The government and higher authorities must restrict their law even tighter to avoid such corruption to occur in the future. It is highly recommended to set a new enforcement law and punishments when corruption happens so that such incidents will stop. Money is important because it can control the country's economy when being used wisely, properly, and not being wasted to corrupted people. Thank you, sir, for listening to our presentation. Have a good day.